I'm excited to show you how easily you can make my cranberry orange muffins with a gorgeous bakery-style dome shape on top. My muffins are made with all natural ingredients, including fresh cranberries, orange juice, orange zest, maple syrup, and a creamy protein boost from cottage cheese. They're made gluten-free with oat and almond flour, and they have a delicious crumble on top with almonds, coconut sugar, shredded coconut, and ginger. Then they're topped with an incredible cream cheese and maple syrup glaze that adds the perfect amount of sweetness to balance the tart cranberries. I have included everything you could possibly want in a cranberry orange muffin, but without refined white sugar or white flour. We're going to begin with a fresh, juicy orange, and we want to first zest the skin. So I'm just going to go around and zest the outside of the peel. And you want to do this step before you've sliced your orange in half, so it's much easier to hold on to. So you'll end up with about 2 tablespoons of orange zest. Now we can cut our orange in half and squeeze out all the juice. This is as fresh as it gets. So once we've gotten all the juice out of our orange, we're going to end up with about 1/4 to 1/3 cup of orange juice. Next, we're going to make our muffin batter. We're going to start with our wet ingredients, which includes 2 eggs plus 1 egg white, 2/3 of a cup of maple syrup, 1/3 of a cup of cottage cheese, and you can use large curd, small curd, non-fat, low-fat, whatever your preference. And don't worry, the curdle texture is going to bake smooth in your muffin and you won't even know it's there. Next, we'll add our 1/3 to 4th cup of orange juice, 1/3 cup of coconut oil, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and 1 tablespoon of our orange zest. And then we'll whisk these together until well combined. Oh, that fresh smell is incredible. Next, we're going to add our dry ingredients, which includes 2 2/3 cups of oat flour. And you can buy the oat flour already ground from the store, or you can take quick oats or old-fashioned oats and just blend them for a few seconds in your upright blender, and you will instantly get flour. Then we'll add 1 cup of almond flour, and this is just going to really soften the texture as well as enhance the flavor. And then we're going to add 1½ teaspoons of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon salt, and 1/4 teaspoon of ginger. And I'll whisk these together until well combined. And then you're going to have this really beautiful, thick, kind of chunky batter. Next, we're going to add in 1/2 cup of our cranberries, and you can use fresh or frozen. But I'm going to hold out 1/2 cup of the cranberries because we're going to place them on top of the muffins before they bake. And I'll just stir these in with a spatula. And then we'll set our batter aside to rest while we make our crumble. In a medium bowl, you'll want to add 2 tablespoons of butter, and you'll want to have it melted. So I'm going to go ahead and put mine in the microwave for about 25 seconds. And now that we have 2 tablespoons of melted butter, we're going to add 1/4 cup of almond flour, 1/4 cup of coconut sugar. For the chopped almonds, I like to start with sliced almonds, and then I'm just going to take 2 tablespoons of sliced almonds, and then I like to chop them down a little bit finer. So I'm just going to put them on my cutting board here and just very gently go through and chop those down. I want them big enough to be recognizable, but small enough for a really tasty bite. And then add those to our bowl. And same thing for the shredded coconut. I like to take 2 tablespoons of coconut, and then I'm just going to chop it down a little bit finer, just so it incorporates well into the crumble. And then we can add the 2 tablespoons of shredded coconut to our bowl. And then for additional flavor, I'm going to add 1/8 of a teaspoon of ginger powder, as well as 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. And we'll just mix these together with a fork. And then we get this really nice crumble texture, similar to like a graham cracker crust. Now we're ready to assemble our muffins. I'll try and clean up a little bit of my mess here. This recipe will fill 12 muffin cups, and I really like using the silicone muffin tray because it's really easy to just pop the muffins out once they're cooked. And then you can decide if you want to put muffin liners or if you just want to bake them directly in your cups. And then you can spray your muffin liners with some non-stick just to ensure they'll come out easily. I'm just using some coconut oil. Filling your muffin cups is super easy by using an ice cream scoop or a batter scoop. And this one holds about 1/3 cup of batter. So I'm just going to scoop out my batter and dump it right into my cup. And as I'm dropping it into the muffin cup, I'm going to allow it to kind of mound up in the middle. And that's just going to help accentuate the high dome shape of the muffin. And you can fill these so that the batter comes up a little bit higher than the top of your tray. Next, we're going to add some cranberries to the top just to make them extra beautiful. So I'm going to take 3 cranberries and just kind of push them into the center of the muffin. As the muffin bakes, it's going to rise and kind of spread out those cranberries. And then we can sprinkle some of our orange zest on top. And not only is this going to add even more orange flavor, but those little orange strands are just going to look really beautiful. Now we can add our crumble by just taking a small handful and then pressing it down into the top of our muffin. And as you press in your crumble, you can push it to the sides of your cranberries and help maintain that higher shape in the middle of your muffin. Now I know it took a little extra work to assemble the tops of these muffins, but I promise it's worth it. Now we're going to put them into a 425-degree oven for 5 minutes. And this is going to give them a little bit of a heat boost, which is going to help build that high center of the muffin. And then we're going to leave them in the oven and just turn down the temperature to 350 degrees and then set our timer for an additional about 14 to 15 minutes. And then we're just going to bake them until they're starting to brown on top and a toothpick comes out clean. While the muffins are baking, we can make our cream cheese glaze that's going to go on the top. Now you could mix it in a small blender, or I'm using the chopper cup that comes with my immersion blender, or you could just mix it in a bowl with a fork or whisk. I'm going to start by adding 2 ounces of cream cheese, 2 tablespoons of melted butter, 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, half a teaspoon of vanilla, and 2 dashes of salt. And then I'll just put on the lid and mix this until it's well combined. Then I'll just transfer this to a smaller bowl. Here's a batch of muffins that I baked earlier that are completely cool to the touch, and they look absolutely incredible. So I'm going to transfer them to this wire rack so that we can add the glaze. Now you want your glaze to be nice and warm so that butter is melted. So if it started to cool off for you, just go ahead and warm it up in the microwave. And then you can spoon it over the top, or I found it works really well to just use a pastry brush. So I'm just going to paint this right over the top of the muffins. It's a little bit solid in color right now, but as it cools, it'll turn a little more translucent and you'll get to see those beautiful colors and textures underneath. And this will just add the perfect amount of sweetness. Now once they're glazed, you can store these in your fridge, but I think they taste best when they're at room temperature or slightly warm. Go ahead and open this muffin. It's just gorgeous and spongy and soft inside, and it has those beautiful cranberries. That is divine. That is an incredible combination of sweet and savory flavors. As soon as I bite in, I get that fresh, vibrant orange flavor, and then I get the sweetness from the glaze and the crumble, which is the perfect balance to biting into one of the tart cranberries. And the soft, light texture of the sponge is just delicious, with the earthiness coming from the oat and the almond flours, and then getting a little bit of the coconut as well as the almonds that are in the crumble. I could go on and on. This is seriously the ultimate orange cranberry muffin, and I love the fact that it's not overpowered by refined white sugar or white flour, which you find in traditional muffins. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today in my kitchen, and I've included a link in the video description below to the full recipe, which is on my website, gentletummy.com. And I also invite you to like and subscribe to my channel. And if you know someone else who you think would love this recipe, please share this video with them. And I cannot wait to have you hang out with me again in my kitchen.